So somehow yesterday class, I got disturbed, and it is also a difficult, let's say, difficult comparison: constitutional morality and social morality. We don't want to sound like polity, but sounding like ethics is challenging. This, if it is polity, so we can teach it very free. No. But in ethics, you have to talk more in ethical terms. That is a challenge. So yesterday we were saying it, and this morality concept, if you talk constitutional morality, so as we told that it is based on modern liberal rational concept, which you will understand when we'll take utilitarian philosophy one day. What is that rational and modern liberal philosophy? Considering individuals as equal is itself very great thing, because still we do not consider individuals as equal. Our society still does not consider individuals as equal. Even governments also at times they discriminate. You can see this, and many such conflicts from US to other countries you'll find. So it is based on this lack of equality. There was a time that black people fought for their equality, the civil rights movement. Still women are fighting for their equality. So this is how you can consider that the equality is something which we are trying to fight still. And this constitutional morality is based on that equality. Since social morality is very strong in our society, and we feel very hurt by that, that is how in the class also it becomes challenging to talk very frankly. Otherwise, if I have to talk very frankly, so I should have told in one line that the idea of this piousness and piousness, or idea of, let's say, that pavitra, apavitra, idea of celibacy, idea of this and that. So these things do not, let's say, withstand the challenges of rational concept. Rationality will reject all these things. If someone's celibacy is disturbed by presence of a woman, so that is not celibacy at all. This you should understand. If someone's celibacy is disturbed by a woman, so that person should remain separate from this world. If I am allowed to speak free, then, right? Otherwise, let's say we are constrained by all these emotions, that people will feel hurt. This and religion, let's say that even religion, if you talk, the religion is not that, let's say, religion, actual aspect of religion, the literal aspect of the religion is not known to most of the people. What we know is that a deformed and distorted aspect of religion, which we have formed a perception on that religion. The founders of the religions were also not so narrow-minded. This, you can see that how those founders, whatever the prophets, whatever the founders, be it Buddha, Jaina, whatever you can say, or Hinduism philosophy you can say, they cannot be considered so narrow-minded. But religion now has been become linked to social morality, and that is how we say that women and men differences, that and not allowing. So social morality, when there is a conflict between them, the court has no way to go by constitutional morality. That is how they want, because court itself is based on modern liberal legal jurisprudence system. The modern liberal law that we have, Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, they are the liberal rational documents. Before that, we did not have that codification of law. If you talk during Mughal time, it will be somehow mixed with Sharia law. If you go further back, it will not be that rational. When Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, they have introduced, even Constitution has been introduced, they can be considered more as a modern liberal rational documents. So when the judgment is given, so its overwhelming focus will be also on that rational aspect. And that is how we can say the difference we can say. Although we told that it is also important. Like social morality is also important, because while differentiating between ethics and morality, we have also told that morality is the foundation of ethics, or let's say social norms provide moral fabric provide foundation for ethics. So things are interconnected, things are interlinked, but when there is friction, then the matter becomes challenging. That what we should decide, what we should do, and that time let's say largely the courts will go by constitutional morality. This, which let's say that this constitutional morality, although this is how when we start talking a bit polity, the constitutional morality was more close to B.R. Ambedkar. He gave lots of emphasis on constitutional morality. This idea of constitutional morality was first given by Grote, a political philosopher, let's say. Grote gave the idea of constitutional morality. And this Ambedkar gave emphasis on constitutional morality. Why he gave emphasis on constitutional morality? Because he says that democracy in India is a top dressing. A bit I am speaking polity language, but not a problem. It's another matter nowadays we have started telling that India is the mother of all democracy. This. So, which counters what he says. So, he says democracy is a top dressing. Top dressing means he says people are not democratic. Rather, we have adopted the democratic system. When we have adopted a democratic system, a liberal constitution, so how that liberal constitution can work in actual practice? The liberal constitution can work in actual practice only when, let's keep, people have constitutional morality.
So this quote is said by Ambedkar.
Right. Yes, this quote is by Ambedkar. This. So without constitutional morality, we cannot run our constitution, we cannot have a constitutional democracy. Now what is that constitutional morality in polity term, let's say that? It is, let's say that first, or you can write this. According to B.R. Ambedkar, constitutional morality means first reverence to constitution, reverence to constitution, and its ideals by both the government and the governed. Next. And governed. Next. Respect for liberty, equality, freedom of people for all. Next, a participative way of resolution of problems of society. Change in paragraph. Constitutional morality is considered. Constitutional morality is considered essential for any constitutional democracy. Any constitutional democracy. As it is not possible unless those who are in government and those who are governed do not have respect for ideals of the Constitution. In Indian case, the ideals of the Constitution are liberal principles enshrined in the preamble. Hence, a progressive outlook is necessary. That's why constitutional morality is given preference over social morality. This. It is constitutional morality which has given judgments like Nautez Singh case. Yes. Nautez Singh case, the Puttaswamy case, triple talaq case, in which the Constitution has given preference to, the Supreme Court gave preference to liberal rational principles. Which was important for defining rights of LGBT community, equality of women, and privacy rights. Just to add it, a bit of polity, but we cannot stop. Just to strengthen our point. This way. Means just we have told a bit of polity orientation to strengthen our point related to constitutional morality. To understand what is constitutional morality. This. To also know that constitutional morality is even used by the Supreme Court in its interpretations. And there are various cases, let's say, where they have highlighted the relevance of constitutional morality. In fact, Deepak Mishra in Delhi case, you know that, NCT Delhi case, Deepak Mishra went on saying that Constitutional morality is the second basic structure doctrine. They have gone to say to that extent in legal term, not in ethical term, let's say. The second basic structure doctrine, because basically when you don't have a rational perspective, you will not be able to decide on many such matters which are related to our tradition, custom and other things. Especially if you take this called this LGBT rights when they have given, and when they talk about triple talaq and women demanding for equality rights, so that aspect you can consider. So this way we can talk on this, just to understand this. Then we'll talk next. So we were talking about social norms and ethics and social norms. This we can say this. This we started talking. So let's write further. Since social norms are part and parcel of society, they can be considered relevant in moral development of people. They can be considered relevant in moral development of people. However, ethics can bring scientific temper. And can help in elimination of social evils, superstitions, and other such practices which may not be considered good for modern society. Even fundamental duties also talk about promotion of scientific temper in society. So this way we can say about this relation. Right. Online people. So yesterday it got somehow disturbed. So they have not, I guess, they may not have got clarity over social morality and constitutional morality. Are you able to understand difference? See, you should take, when someone is asking, you should take constitutional morality as nothing but universal standards of ethics. This, and social morality as nothing but social norms of society. This, because social morality is related to society, the morality of that society. The morality of our society is based on our social norms. Morality of Western society is based on their social norms. Isn't it? Like, you should know that it is marriage. The marriage is a social norm. The social norm in our country, marriage can be, let's say that lots of rituals are done. Isn't it? और पहले social norm ये होता था कि जब तक rituals complete, unless rituals are completed, so people will not be served food. No, isn't it? So that was social norm. Right. But now social norm has changed. No, social norm has changed. The reception is there, isn't it? People can take reception, they can go away, that even if marriage takes place or not. Right. So there's change in social norm that has happened. So this way you can say this. So the marriage does not complete unless those rituals are completed. And those rituals are as per different, let's say not only religion, but also different within, let's say that Hinduism, there will be differences. No, social norms are so different that even let's say that there is always a bit conflict during the marriage, let's say that time ceremony, when ceremony is held. Right, the priests from both sides start, let's say, having a bit arguments also. Social norms, standards. Anyhow, so in social norm, let's say, generally let's say ki Jaimal system you have, isn't it? So that system is practiced. Western countries में marriage जब complete होता है तो both kiss each other, isn't it? जो कि हमारे यहाँ social taboo है. Social norm, isn't it? So this, although I tell in utilitarian philosophy, but now she is asking difference. So social morality is this. Social morality of Western society is that people can have public kissing, right? And it is not problem. Right? Rather, those who are passerby, they appreciate when there is two individuals have kissing. But let's say in our country, let's say that on roadside two individuals have kissing. Right. Right. You know what will happen. And they will be in custody, police custody. Right. Even we have anti-Romeo squad. Right. In UP. Right. So the name of Romeo in Western society is revered, not derided. It is revered. But यहाँ पे हमने नाम रखा है एंटी रोमियो, और रोमियो हमारे सोसाइटी में derided, isn't it? Not appreciated. Anyhow, a bit more of your social morality, you can say this. The social morality can be different in different society. This. But constitutional morality that we are talking this, reverence to the constitution that you have by both those who are ruling, those who are ruled, plus that constitution will have some values. It's liberty, equality, freedom for all. It means they are the liberal values. So you have to, let's say that liberal values. Then they are saying you should have participative way, not unilateral way. Means it is not the government should not solve unilaterally the problems the way it solves. That is basically indicating there should not be arbitrary exercise of powers. Anyhow, so constitutional morality is more of a rational standard when we say about equality. That is how women was given in Sabrimala equal right to, let's say that, freedom of religion and equality to enter in that temple. That is what we were saying about constitutional morality. Although let's say that when there is a conflict, it is not necessary that constitutional morality will always be given preference over social morality. Social morality is also given preference over, let's say that constitutional morality. Like say even in Uttar Pradesh when we have anti-Romeo squad, so let's say it has its own, let's say basis that for, let's say, security of women. This, it is working for the security of women, and it is compatible as per Indian social norm. This you can say. Although yes, it can have some other, let's say that problems, but when police has moral policing, so it has also acceptance in society. If it has criticisms, it has also acceptance in society. This, it can be considered in that way. That is how we can take. Then we'll take next.
So we'll link constitutional morality to the not morality itself, but rather we'll link it to ethics.
Yes, constitutional morality, by the term moral, it does not mean, let's say, moral and ethical. Now I can guess the problem. Right. See, when we say, right, morality and let's say ethics, only in ethics and morality context we try to differentiate them. Otherwise, elsewhere, anywhere, when the term morality comes, it means also ethics, let's say. It is not ki there you have to see in that way. Right. Let's say ki we say that ki, this moral values. When we say moral values, the moral values can be universal values also. Moral values means not ki only, let's say ki it's just only society to society. Right. This. Similarly, let's say we say moral principles. When we say moral principles, so basically they can be also universal principles. So the term morality or moral can be used, let's say that in ethics context also. Right. So when we say constitutional morality, right, it is basically the universal standards. And when we say social morality, it is the relative standards. So there is a term called moral absolutism versus moral relativism. The moral absolutism is somehow it is universal ethics, and moral relativism is somehow it is relative aspect. This, that way we should take it. Or if you take any quotes of philosophers, they will use moral. Right. Some will use moral, some will use ethics. So they do not differentiate between that in general. This. So let's say we use moral dilemma. Right. Another term, moral dilemma. The moral dilemma is same as ethical dilemma. This. So this way we have to take, right? So next we'll take is called law and ethics. So law, in let's see its definition, if you take the term law, it is ordinance of reasons enacted to achieve common good of society. This. This we can consider. And when we talk about the obvious meaning of the law, so when we say law, we use the term law. It is the law which is enacted by the legislature. Although the law can have different meanings, let's say, different connotations it can have. The law is especially the law enacted by legislature. Then law is enacted to regulate the conduct of people. Basically it is related to regulating the affairs of people or conduct of people. This, that you can say. Although the law can have different, let's say that, connotation when we say. One law can be enacted by the state, means legislature. Another law is, let's say we say as rule of law. Another law we say as natural law. Another law we say as law of nature. Natural law is based on human nature. Law of nature is based on nature. Right. So, rule of law is based on equality. It is a rational construction. This. And enactment of means enacted by state, this regulate public affairs. This details of law will take when we'll take law, rules, regulations and conscience as source of ethical guidance. It is a separate topic, there we'll talk it. Here we are just trying to relate ethics and law. This. So basically law, when we use the term, it can have these all, let's say that, its applications are we can apply in different context. But law when we talk, so we presume in this case only. We presume this one and then we talk on this. Right. They can be, let's say, separately dealt, or you can have in your mind. We have been expecting a question, but so far UPSC has not asked. So gradually we have stopped saying less on that. So, law of nature is that nature has its own, you know that. Nature has its own, right, every action has its own reaction, counter reaction, isn't it? If you respond to nature, nature also responds to you. In terms of disasters and all these things, isn't it? If you cause harm to nature, nature will cause harm to you. This is how we can say that, law of nature. So we are fearful of law of nature? No. Does it has, let's say, either we respect it or we have fear, let's say, we fear from this. So we try to act in such a way that we should not harm, right, nature, this. So stamping, so if you stamp, or let's say that, so family members, etc. will say you should not do that, right. So that kind of things we can consider. So there is either respect or fear. This. Or many a time, let's say, when we say development should happen along with nature, the idea of sustainable development, we should not harm nature. This. That can be, let's say that. So even law of nature has also influence, basically, it has influence on our conduct. Right. It has influence on our conduct. This natural law, human nature, so it will come basically, so it guides our conduct, right, since it is based on human nature. So humans should be non-harmful, humans should respect others, this you can say that. Or even the analysis which is going on gay rights, etc., it is linked to also natural law. The natural law, let's say that we say that heterogeneous sex is considered, right, natural, but let's say sex between two same-sex persons, it is considered unnatural. Right. So what is that natural and unnatural? from where its natural and unnatural comes. Right. So that is how it will have that kind of, let's say that debate. So one day I will tell you about this. Maybe when we'll teach attitude topic there, because as of now I think we are not still prepared to take a bit complex matters. This. So one day we'll tell you about human nature and how it influences our behavior. Rule of law, you know it. We don't have to teach on rule of law. Largely it comes, let's say that law presumed by, means made by state. So difference if you talk, if it, so largely we are talking in the context of state, let's say. State, so enforceable, later side, can be enforced against will. Like whether you accept the law, you do not accept the law, you have to follow law. So we seek obedience, let's say that. Here there is more of obedience to law. Yes. This, here it is more about acceptance, let's say that. Right. Or acceptable, sorry. This. Like several laws, let's say even traffic rules. The traffic rules are enforced whether you like it or not. Fines will be imposed whether you like it or not. But ethical standards, principles, honesty, generally it is said that honesty cannot be legislated. So honesty is desirable, quality of behavior, these things are desirable. Like so from that perspective we say that it is more based on acceptance of the individuals. It is more linked to authority. So law is linked to exercise of authority, but ethics is linked to exercise of character. The ethics shows character side of the human, law shows the power or authority side of the human. And it upholds the accountability of the state and ethics brings responsibility of the state, the other side, let's say. So this way we can consider. But that is also not important. With a passage of time, you will know yourself the differences, although we'll teach when we say law, rules, regulations, plus we have also a topic called code of conduct and code of ethics. By that time, you'll understand the relationship better. But let's see, main aspect is there is conflict. There is conflict between law and ethics. No. So, yes. Yes, yes. Second point. This one. Law represents letter side. Have you heard letter and spirit? You may have heard letter and spirit. So, governments often promise that law would be enforced in letter and spirit. They say, isn't it? What is that spirit? I ignored it, basically I bypassed it because later I have to tell. So that's why I did not tell it. But since you are asking, so we have to tell. What is the spirit side? Implementation.
And I think spirit side of law, the value.
We'll come to a bit later. Let's talk this. Right. So, law has a moral foundation. Right. Let's come to this. What does it mean? So suppose any law, किसी भी law का example दो आप. Right. Means you tell, मैं तो बता ही दूंगा. Right. Tell any law that you have in mind. Maternity Benefit Act. Right. Maternity Benefit Act, isn't it? Now, what it says, what law says, it gives maternity leaves, isn't it? It gives leaves with pay. It gives leaves with pay, right? This is in letter. Letter means what is explicitly written, right? What is explicitly written? This you can say that. Now, what is the spirit side? This is what written. Right. How many? Let's say that days of leave you get? 3 months, 6 months. Right. I exactly do not know how much it gives.
6.5, like 26 weeks.
6 months. 6 months. So, whatever you have written it is letter. Or you are implementing. Letter and you are implementing. Isn't it? This you can say that. Now, what is the spirit side? What will be the spirit side of this law?
Women equality, human welfare.
Right. This, the rationale behind the law. Why this law was brought?
Employment, because women do not lose their employment.
Like just having empathy
To
for
increase
the
the labor force participation rate of the women.
that you have to
Due to
balance
pregnancy, they left out.
that we have to ensure that the professional rights of the women are not violated by our
Take care can be ensured. Take care can be ensured.
Women empowerment.
Early nurture of infant as per cognitive development. Movement is important for the nurture of infant.
Great. Its rationale is reproduction is an essential aspect of life. Without reproduction, society cannot progress. And that reproduction is due to women, because women can only give birth to a child. Right, not men, sorry to say that. Right. So this right or this natural, let's say that thing that you recognize, this is natural law also, we can say that. It is natural, it is quite natural that child is given birth by women, and reproduction is very important. Society progress is decided also by reproduction, and that should, if it is so essential, then why women should not be protected, let's say, why that should affect their career progression, or let's say that they will be, let's say, having disadvantages because of that in their professional life. This is the rationale behind, let's say, this Maternity Benefit Act. So now let's say that this is the spirit. Some complications come in this later side. Some complications come, let's say that, this later side because of some complications in, let's say, pregnancies, etc. So that should also be accepted. You should not go only by what is written here. If some complications happen and then it demands a bit of change in the later, let's say that, a bit of, let's say that, so you should accept that also. Right. Because the main basis for this law was to protect this, not to just mechanically adhere only 6 months and this and that. Right. This we are trying to say. Anyhow, so when we say letter and spirit, any law that you bring, it has a moral basis to bring that law. But that moral basis is not written in that law. Right. That moral basis should be known by those who enforce law. Right. The Constitution, those who enforce Constitution, they should know the spirit side of the Constitution. And the administrators who implement the law, they should know the spirit side of the law. Then they will be able to adhere not only the letter, that is law provisions, but also the spirit. That is how we mean by. That is how Thomas Hobbes, who gave the idea of social contract that became basis for enactment of law, said that there is a moral foundation. The rest part we will talk when we will teach him. We'll understand better. Right. So this is what we mean by letter and spirit. Spirit can never be written. This you should know that. I will give you another simple example. ये थोड़ा complex था. Right. Civil servants should not take gift. You should know that. Conduct rules. As per conduct rules, civil servants should not take gift. This. If they take gifts, so that gifts should be of particular value, not beyond that. 20,000 around nowadays. Right. मतलब अगर 1,000 ज़्यादा है तो अब फाड़ के दे देना गवर्नमेंट. Anyhow, so only 20,000. What is the rationale behind this? Yes. Yes, prevent corruption. Right. The rationale behind this is to avoid conflict of interest. Yes. When you take gift, so then that gift will create an external moral obligation to give favor to the party which has given gifts. And that can influence your decision. Right. Therefore, let's say when you do not take gifts, so you will not have external moral obligation. This, and hence you can take unbiased decision. The spirit side. This you can say that. So that is how any law that we make, it has a spirit side. Ethics brings the. Now, how you will adhere to spirit side? If you have good character. This. If people have good character, then they will adhere to the. And now, if good character civil servant, they will not take gift of any value. They will not keep calculating कि ये gift कितने का है. Right. So, good civil servants will not take gift at all. Right. To avoid any such moral obligation. That is how the rationale you can consider. Yes.
Another example could be anti-defection law.
Anti-defection. Anti-defection law. Right. Yes. Right. So you cannot write everything about defection, isn't it? The moral behind is that there should not be defection. Right. This, but the law loopholes are, let's say that, mastered and defections are brought. Good example. So that way we can understand. Now let's come to this. Right? This to increase women participation. People write like this, women empowerment. So you may have seen conflicts between law and ethics. No. Alcohol consumption in Delhi. Oh. Sedition.
Not in the Indian system, but in US, like if you are a victim of rape, then you are legally you're not allowed to afford the child. What the Supreme Court now.
Gambling in certain states.
Gambling in certain states. No, we have to bring an example where law and ethics are directly in conflict.
Anti-defection law.
Anti-defection law. No.
Ban on non-vegetarian food. 5,000 penalty on
5,000 right. 5,000 penalty in non-wearing of helmet. It is disproportionate, not like unethical. Right. This.
ban on non-vegetarian food in certain.
Yes, ban on non-vegetarian, but थोड़ा sensitive, controversial है. अभी तो तीसरा class है, isn't it? Right. Two-child policy, yes. Two-child policy, right. abortion law in Ireland, yes.
Retrospective nature of civil law.
No, it is not. It is, let's say that. Very clear example is related to Ireland, right? This, I think Savita case. Right. Yes. Indian origin women in Ireland, and she was pregnant. In pregnancy, there were a bit complications, and they wanted abortion. Yes. They wanted abortion, let's say, but Ireland law was that time, right? So, law barred abortion. Yes. So, law barred abortion, and abortion needed because it was complicated and it may take the life of both, right, isn't it? You are a doctor, right, who is handling this, that means Savita, let's say that, ki under your, let's say that, ki cares as a doctor, what you will do? Right. You know that if abortion is not done, so her life may not be saved. But law is against abortion. Law bars abortion.
It's even dangerous for the child as well as the both. If abortion is not done, like both will lose the life. You're saying.
Yes, possibility is that she will lose the life. Right.
But the child might survive.
Child may survive, that is also not guaranteed. Means possibility is that both will. This.
Save the life of the child. Not the child, not the child, save the life of the mother.
Right. It is a case of ethical dilemma. Right. It is very, let's say, classic case of ethical dilemma. So, right. Although we are not to give that type of examples, etc., but you are saying you will save the by going against law.
Yes.
Right.
Because law entirely is made to protect the people only. No? That is the value behind the law.
That's right.
But to save a life,
ऐसा ही होगा.
We can still argue sir, in court. That's a different case. Like we can argue in the court and say that I'm not guilty. That's law can keep on changing. Law can amend law, keep on changing. But for the time being, like it's now to take decisions, so we have to save the life of them.
Right. Yes, it can be done. Good key. Some people are saying it should be saved, but there is a risk in that. When law does not allow, and you in that situation you go against law, then it becomes a precedent for others. And even if the situation is not similar, but they can go by that by citing that precedent. Here it is a genuine case, but in some other cases it may not be the genuine case. And this case can be given as a precedent. Right. And then let's say law may not be followed. This is the risk. Right. And since it is against law, so certainly there can be legal action. Now it depends on court whether the court will accept this logic or not. Right. Suppose you are writing an answer, so you should write, let's say, immediate judicial intervention can be sought. This, and then you should take action. The proper way to handle the case is immediate judicial intervention. Because judiciary has the authority to change the law. This you should know that through interpretation. In any country, judiciary has been given this authority. So that will be a right way to. And if there is a delay, so you should save the law. Sorry, save the right. This save the life, whatever the life you can save. This you can say that. Now you should know that after her death, she died. This she died because abortion was not allowed. This. So after her death, the law was changed. Law was changed and abortion was made permissible. Yes. Hence, in law and ethics conflict, this is a challenge. Should we change the law every time after paying some cost? Or we should change the law before that cost is paid. Right. This. So, ethics, this wisdom, human wisdom. It comes with human wisdom. So, law in a way a bit can be static. Law in a way can be a bit outdated. Or law in a way may not deal with exceptional cases, exceptional situations. Right. The law may not deal with exceptional situations, novel situations, new types of cases. Law may not necessarily be highly updated. It can be stagnated or outdated. But society may face different types of challenges. That is how we need ethics, wisdom to solve that matter. At times we act by applying wisdom, and at times we do not act, and in that case we pay price for that. Like let's say this life of Savitri. This recently Supreme Court did not allow abortion in one case, but in past it has done. In past it has done. Last year also, let's say abortion was allowed, and you raised that question before marriage and after marriage, that matter was also dealt. This. So there was less, but this time it has not allowed. It has been criticized, but there are some cases where in 26 weeks also it has allowed. Right. In 26 weeks also it has allowed.
There's a procedure for like you need medical acceptance.
Yes.
इस टाइम एम्स का रिपोर्ट ने बोला कि जो मदर है ना, उनकी कंडीशन है और चाइल्ड की लिविंग में कोई डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप नहीं है.
And they are like claiming that like she is not like mentally stable to bring up a child. So that's their like defense. So that's what Chief Justice told, like we can't stop our beating heart.
वो पूरा डेवलप हो गया है.
Yes.
About 26.
Similarly, the law and ethics can be in conflict in other areas also, not only in this, you can say that. In civil services also, as a civil servant, you can often face the conflict between law and ethics, you can consider. So that can be also a situation when you enforce various types of law. And similarly, let's say in general also, in other field also, you can say that the human-animal conflict, that will find this. Environment, let's say that, environment and law, so you have to promote social justice and sustainable development, both at times becomes conflictual. So because social justice suffer when you protect ecology and environment. Like say recently, let's say when Tughlakabad, Tughlakabad area and some slums were removed. So it results into suffering of social justice, but you protect the cultural heritage, this you can consider. So there can be often it happens. And in this it becomes ethical dilemma that what should be done. But let's say that it's both aspects. Law also should be followed, ethics should also be followed depending on situation. As a civil servant, you are supposed to follow law. You will follow law because law will protect you.
Letter and spirit, right?
The law is going to protect you because law is defined, spirit is not defined. But in some situation, it is expected that you should adhere by spirit, not necessarily law. So it's, let's say that is how the conflicts happen, and there is no one way to tell or one, let's say that end result that this is how we should follow. But human face this challenge of this. When there is a conflict between law and ethics and we have to pay any price for that, and we do not act as per our wisdom, right? Rather we bring change in law once, let's say some loss has happened, then it does not look good, let's say, because human wisdom should prevail, not necessarily law. This, like you know that there used to be security protocols, and let's say some people died, ambulance etc. were stopped because of security protocols. If someone is going, let's say, from any such locality, let's say even Prime Minister, Chief Minister, any such VVIP movement, there is a security protocol. In that security protocol, no vehicle is allowed, even ambulance was also not allowed. But after death of, let's say that some patients, now you allow the ambulance. You allow ambulance. Still you do not allow patients without ambulance. There is a security protocol. मान लो सबको तो एम्बुलेंस मिलता नहीं है, कोई भी क्रिटिकल हेल्थ है, someone is in critical health and without ambulance, suppose he is going, and there is, let's say, security protocol, it has stopped, and the person is in critical condition, and by the time he is allowed, the person dies. Yes. So in that time, the person who is in charge of the security protocol, the officer who is posted there, he should apply his wisdom. This, and he should assess whether it is a genuine case, will not threaten the security, and he should escort that vehicle to other side. Right. This. Later on, you face disciplinary actions. Still we do not have this. This is what law and ethics you can have, such at times let's consider. So let's write on this. Although law has moral foundation, yes, law has moral foundation, still there is conflict between law and ethics due to following factors. First, law is static in nature. Law is static in nature. Ethics is dynamic. Next, law may not deal with exceptional and novel situations. Law may not deal with exceptional and novel situations. Next, society undergoes changes due to advancement in human knowledge and wisdom. Change paragraph. In case of conflicts, in case of conflicts, in general, the action should be as per law. The action should be as per law. As per law. However, situations may determine application of wisdom. Situations may determine application of human wisdom to take decision as per ethical standards. To take decisions as per ethical standards. To take decisions as per ethical standards. Change paragraph. Since judiciary or legislature has authority to bring change in law, but law enforcement is done by administration. Administrators can face moral dilemma. There can be change paragraph. There can be cases in which going as per law, in hindsight, may not be considered a good show of wisdom. In hindsight, may not be considered a good show of wisdom, like Savita case in Ireland. Therefore, conflicts between law and ethics create a very challenging situation that which one should be followed. Ideally, the best action should be taken. By application of human wisdom. Simply because law has been made for convenience of human life. Law is for people. People are not for law. Law is for people. People are not for law. That is how we can consider. Change paragraph. Even if they have differences and conflicts, still Still first, law and ethics both promote common good in society. Both promote common good in society. Next, both are important for stability, order, peace and prosperity. Peace and prosperity. Hence, they can be considered two sides of the same coin. They can be considered two sides of the same coin. Same coin. So this is what we can say. It is a truncated version of law and ethics. We'll take you detail when we'll take next. There is a bit complex relationship, not like this, but when we'll take law, rules, regulations as source of ethical guidance, there we'll talk you in details. So this, then ethics and religion. So religion, let's say that, already you know that it's based on faith and society basically. When before emergence of moral ethical standards or moral and ethical values, because they were based on rational thinking, society first experienced religion and religious values. Because religion, you know that people became a bit God-fearing, or they worshipped earth, etc. in let's say past. So religious values precede moral values and ethical values. This, and all religions have their fundamental values. So those fundamental values, let's. since Buddhism will teach one day, Jainism also will teach, so that time we will tell you a bit elaborate, although others will not teach. This we will keep referring here and there. So already you know about Mahabharata, Ramayana, Gita, and this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, righteousness, dharma you can consider. Ram Rajya means good governance. Niskam karma. Satyamev Jayate, so truth, ultimate, let's say that. Giving preference to truth, truth is ultimate. They are very lofty ideals you can consider. Religion has given, isn't it? The religious philosophy, even if you follow any religious philosophy, it is itself sufficient. Right? So we don't need to follow any other thing. So any religion in literal sense, if you adhere, it itself makes you a better person.
Law is for people and people are not for law. If no one follows law, then what will be the value of law? People won't follow it.
I wanted to just conclude it, right, so that conclude with the essence or ultimate aspect of the relationship. Right. So you should take more it as a philosophical statement, giving the relevance to people rather than law. Right. See, law is, one day we will talk in details, you will understand. Law is needed to maintain order in society. Yes. But law should not be end in itself. This you should understand. See, human wisdom and intelligence cannot be, let's say, somehow suppressed or somehow confined by law. Right? Because human intelligence and wisdom can think better than law. Right? This we have to understand. This is how society has evolved. So when society has evolved, तो आज के डेट में मान लो कि due process of law, तो due process of law, let's say when it was, the idea came of due process of law. Right. When idea came of many other things in our society. So the question is that what we say human mind and wisdom. The human mind means intelligence and wisdom. It's let's say that it cannot be just confined by whatever the system of law you have. Law should keep changing. Right. That it is in that context we have said. First, second thing you should know that. Second thing we are talking is that why law we have brought. Why law is needed. Regulation of human behavior, because that is also important. But should law start taking life of people? If a law which starts taking life of people, so that is not law at all. Like say Savita case, like Armed Forces Special Power Act, you can say, draconian laws you can say, that any law which has some, let's say, objectionable sections in that you can say, or section 66A you can say, right, which was struck by the court. This. So law, when it starts harming to society, that law should be changed. This is the ultimate aspect. That does not mean that law is not needed. This we have to keep in mind. मान लो ट्रैफिक रूल है, बट ट्रैफिक रूल इम्पोज करना एंड तो नहीं है ना. आप किसी का जान लेके थोड़े इम्पोज करोगे. Traffic rule should be imposed, right? But not by taking someone's life, right? किसी का लाइफ अगर थ्रेटन हो रहा है, right? या कुछ ऐसा सिचुएशन है, तो you allow it. That does not mean कि from tomorrow people will not adhere traffic rules. बेसिकली हमारे माइंड में दूसरा एक काउंटर थियरी है, वो ये है कि अगर लॉ को नहीं स्ट्रिक्टली एनफोर्स किया जाएगा तो पीपल विल नॉट फॉलो लॉ. Right. But then we forget that the law has been brought by the same people. Both we have to understand. So there should be balance between both. For order and discipline it is important, but law should not be end in itself. In that context we have told, right? Yes. So religion, let's say that largely in our society, people can have a negative perception about religion. But religion is very sacrosanct, very sacred you can consider. And religious values, whatever the values you have, they have their own fundamental values. Right? Any religion, let's say Hinduism has so many things to be told. This, because it is so huge and so broad. Right? And that components of that, so that is how gradually here and there we'll keep saying about. So Mahabharata is based on, let's say, dharma. It is the fight for dharma, you can say that. And fight for truth, you can consider. And this is how the righteous path you can say. Same thing about, let's say, Ramayana that teaches about good governance or adherence to truth. That you can say. And Bhagavad Gita, let's say, it talks about nishkam karma, dutifulness, and not, let's say, that our actions should not be guided by our consequence. This is how it says that. Rather, action should be action in itself. That is how Immanuel Kant philosophy, right? Selflessness, that it teaches. So already you know this is how, and Satyamev Jayate we talk. So these are all, let's say, standards. What basically we have to say is that religious philosophies or religion which have the fundamental values, they are also universal standards of ethics. This is our relationship between ethics and religion. In fact, when our human life is very profoundly guided by religious values. These values are these standards we can consider. And since ethics will also talk these standards, the ethics will also talk today about inclusiveness, peace loving, let's say universal brotherhood you can consider, or this righteousness or good governance or truth, selflessness. That's why our equality, our forgiveness, our compassion, which we'll talk later on, they are also civil services values. So ethics is profoundly influenced by religion, but ethics is not religion. Both are different. One is based on faith, another is based on reason, logic, and other things. This you can say. In religion, faith is faith whether you accept or not, but in ethics, by logic and reasoning, we can reject the things. In religion, rejection is less allowed, but in ethics, rejection is allowed. This questioning and etc. is allowed, we can say that. So ethics is continuously evolving itself because of that, but religion is somehow, since it is based on faith, it has its own core fundamental values. At the same time, at times, religion and ethics come into conflict. You know that, and that even Sabrimala case is also conflict between religion and ethics, because ethics here is related to universal standard. Religion is let's say, it is based on not only social morality, but let's say a particular sect, their religious belief. Similarly, religion and ethics come into conflict when this is how vegetarian, non-vegetarian in our country, and when you have, let's say, that Navratri time, and when non-vegetarian foods are banned, or let's say that those all nowadays those, what we can say, meat sale is banned basically. So meat sale is banned during Navratri time. So that has also brought at times conflict between ethics and religion. Because ethics talks about rights of all individuals, freedom of all individuals. But at the same time, let's say that religion says that since it is Navratri time, so that meat sales should be banned to respect that religion, right? In past, it was more linked to only Jainism, but now it has been linked to, let's say that Hinduism also, and Navratri time generally it is how. Although let's say that after conflicts things have got settled. At times conflicts happen when people go and forcibly, let's say, get those shops shut down. Right. Even if government has not imposed a shutdown on the shops, but some people go and forcibly they get those shops shut down. So that way it starts resulting into conflicts, right? So this way we can say, plus religion, you know that religion and ethics, and let's say that other such developments in our societies have brought a bit conflicts between religion and ethics, and that we can consider in terms of this love jihad and anti-conversion laws also will find this, how. So on the one hand, people have freedom, on the other hand, anti-conversion is restricting the freedom of people in terms of choice of their marriage. So religion many a time restricts the choice of people, ethics many a time gives choice to people. This way also it can be told. So that is how we can say, although we'll avoid taking all those controversial things. Right? So this is what we have to summarize, so let's write on that. Differences between ethics and religion. Let's write thereof, even if they have differences. Even if they have differences. But it is, but religious philosophy has profoundly influenced field of ethics. Religious philosophy has profoundly influenced field of ethics. Field of ethics. In fact, in Indian context, both are inseparable. Both are inseparable. That Indian philosophy is inseparable from religious philosophy. The three major religions, Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism, philosophies since ancient time have influenced character and conduct of people, including constitution. That's why the fundamental principles of religion fundamental principles of religion are also considered, the fundamental principles of religion are also considered principles of ethics. Principles of ethics. Ethics or ethics universal principles. Ethics universal principles also incorporate such fundamental principles. Such fundamental principles. Principles like inclusiveness, compassion, forgiveness, equality, inclusiveness, forgiveness, compassion, equality, non-violence, truthfulness, and selflessness. Truthfulness and selflessness. Still there is conflict between religion and ethics. Conflict between religion and ethics. Religion and ethics. In bracket, religion and law. Religion and law. This conflict has also increased across the world. Due to increase in rivalries between religions. Increase in rivalries between religions. Religions have become basis for limiting the choice of people. Religions have become basis for limiting the choice of people. Choice of people. On the other hand, scientific temper and progress in society. Scientific temper and progress in society. Progress in society. Advocate for increase in choices of people. Advocate for increase in choices of people. Choices of people. Yes. The issue of Sabrimala. The issue of Sabrimala is also a conflict between ethics and religion. Conflict between ethics and religion. As rationality does not recognize piousness or unpiousness concept. Piousness and unpiousness concept related to women. But religion recognizes it. Religion recognizes it. However, in case of conflicts, conflicts. Situation decides preference. Situation decides the preference. Although ideally it should be preference to ethics over religion. Ideally it should be preference to ethics over religion. Over religion. Religion. Okay. So you know that those already yesterday we told it. Again, those things will come because they can be linked to social morality also. They can be linked to religion also. So hijab ban can be linked to social morality also. It can be linked to religion also. Same thing. Let's say that we talk about entry in mosque. Women entry in mosque can be linked to religion. And then let's say that linked to ethicality. Let's say that which talks about equality. So that can be. There is one controversial matter pending in court, still in Supreme Court, and that is related to Santhara practice. Right, in Jain. Right. The Santhara practice is related to act of dying. Right. Yes. Yes, starving to death. Right. So, 3, 4, 5. It's just when ethics started, I guess after 2-3 years, just 2013-14, one case came related to one Jain girl, 13 years old, I guess, 13, 14 years old Jain girl. And she, let's say that, she died by practicing Santhara. This. And I think she died or they were trying to practice Santhara, something like that. So she was starving and so it became a case was also filed. Right. But so far no judgment, nothing happens generally. Some religious conflicts are so sensitive that we do not have courage to right, act on them. Rajasthan High Court gave a judgment related to Santhara practice and it considered it irrational practice. This you should know that. तो बहुत ही radical judgment था Rajasthan High Court का Santhara because they applied rationality and ethics. This, but then Jain community challenged this judgment of the Rajasthan High Court. And Supreme Court stayed that order of Rajasthan High Court. Yes. Since then, it has not given its judgment on that. Yes. So there are, let's say, some of the things in each religion we can say that. It is not related to any particular Jainism we can say or Hinduism. In any religion we can say, it can be Islam also, it can be Jainism also, it can be Buddhism also. They may have some of the things in the practice which may not conform to ethical standards, that we can say. But we do not have the, let's say, we can say generally, the courage, we are not courage enough to right, deal with those issues. So they continue, let's say, that way we can see this. The society can have lots of conflicts because of that. So largely when we have those issues which we can tackle, we can have courage in them, so we try to pass the judgment. But very controversial things, even Jallikattu related judgment also you know that. The Supreme Court first judgment was it banned it. Then review petition is filed. The second judgment is that it allowed it with guidelines. These are the guidelines. Thereafter another judgment I guess it came and it did not allow. Then people came on road. You should know that. Those who, let's say, celebrate Jallikattu festival, they did not obey the order of Supreme Court. And the court cannot punish all of them. So that can be, so these are some sensitive matters we can say, which we also do not want to deal with. Right, because they are so sensitive, and let court decide on that. Right. Or if we have to deal, we will go by ethics. There is simple answer. Right. The simple answer is go by ethics. This. But religion is also important. This is how people will say it. It is the situation which will decide. So now by all these discussions you can know that ethics, when we say, so ethics is influenced by so many things. Sorry. So when we talk about ethics, so it is influenced by, you can say, we have talked about morality, social norm, religion, law, this. So it is influenced by them, right? But it is different from all of them, isn't it? It is different from all of them. Still one more aspect we have to talk. Right. That is considered as values. Right. So generally we try to relate by this. And it can have all those. This morality, right, social norms, law, and religion. It will be influenced by all these things, but it is still has its own uniqueness or standards. This we can consider. So let's write on this. Even if ethics is influenced by morality, social norm, religion, morality, social norm, religion, law and values, still it has its own uniqueness. It has its own uniqueness that it is based on established standards, which are universal. Hence, it incorporates the universal characteristics of all of them. So this we can consider as relationship between them. Then we'll take values and ethics. So there are also standards of behavior. Right. And ethics are also standards of behavior. And morality is also standard of behavior. So what are the differences? That is the challenge that we have to understand. We will try to explain it. Right. So first you should understand that the value, when we talk about values may one value, let's say that if you talk about value means preference. No. Value means preference. You give value to something. Right. The preference of one over another. This. No, this. No. So which one is close to this? Android. Android phone. Right. Right. New versus old. Isn't it? 14 versus this. Right. So that is what, let's say. So value is a sort of preference that we are giving, isn't it? This way you can say. Now, so another value is means cost. That value is related to cost, isn't it? So that way you can say this. Now, another value will be related to right and wrong. That is called evaluative element. That is called moral elements. Can we say? So values do not necessarily indicate moral aspect in your conduct. Right. You say this, if you give preference to Apple over Android, this may count as a moral aspect. Isn't it? You prefer this over that. This, you prefer something over someone, let's say that. So our value, let's say cost, let's consider. The value is indicating something as a cost. In that also there is no moral element. This. So values are not always, this is how the major difference we have to understand between ethics and values or morality and values. Right. Values will not always indicate the moral aspect, the moral component. But moral, when you talk, the moral always has evaluative element. And ethics is also, it has its evaluative element. This. So that way we have to take the difference first. It means that values can be very broad. Isn't it? Values, let's say that, values can be very broad. And they may not necessarily have the moral aspect, the right and wrong aspect of human conduct. This. Even if they indicate standards of human behavior, but those standards are not always related to right and wrong. Try to understand. Her means in every behavior you cannot find out right and wrong. Some behaviors are behaviors. Can we say? Or we try to look in every behavior right and wrong. Right. We should not try to find in every behavior right and wrong or moral element. Some behaviors are just human behaviors. This we can consider. So this is what one thing you have to understand. Right. Now values can be positive and negative. Positive values also, negative values also. Right. It depends on people. Right. So they can have positive, let's say, values, negative values. They are always relative. Relative in the sense that what is positive for you is negative for another. Right. Or what is negative for you, positive for another. This we can consider. Then next aspect is, let's say, that core and peripherals. Core values and peripheral values. Core values are considered as fundamental and they are considered as transitory. So when we take fundamental values, so fundamental values will be considered universal and they will be considered relative. Now, values and morality. this is the relation. Guided by values, but all values will not have moral elements. Value education and ethics. See, value-based education means you have to teach those values which have moral elements. Right. And if you teach those values which have moral elements, so that will promote a better ethical conduct. No. Value education is not part of ethics. Value education is an intervention to promote ethics. Right. Let's say that you know in society, now how we have to promote ethics in society? So how we have not come to that stage, we have to promote ethics in society. Right. We are still talking about concept aspect. Concept about ethics, morality, values, right? So we have not come to that stage to tell that how to promote ethics, right? So when we say value-based education, the value-based education means you are talking the moral side of the value, right? Because values are very generic, values are very broad. As we told that when we are talking about values, it is not necessarily indicating the moral side of that person. Right. Because if you prefer something over, let's say that food you have, in that food you may prefer, isn't it? Different types of foods you have. You can prefer a particular food over another one. There is no moral aspect in that. Right. You can prefer a place over another place. You can have a particular lifestyle. These are all nothing but your standards of behavior, but all standards of behavior may not have moral aspect. Right. Like you take tea, some people take tea, some people do not take tea, they want to take only coffee. Isn't it? Right. Because taking tea is considered थोड़ा देसी type होता है. Right. Standard नहीं माना जाता है. Right. So some people take only coffee. Right. Yes. So इसमें कोई moral तो है नहीं. Right. It is just an standard. Right. आप थोड़ा सा और ऊपर चले जाओ आजकल के जनरेशन में तो वो simple coffee नहीं लेंगे. Isn't it? Always aerated with something. Right. So standards, isn't it? There are standards. And if you take normal coffee, तो वो आपकी standard को question करेगा. It is. पहले के टाइम पे लोग सिंपल खाना खाते थे, isn't it? Straight forward, simple. आजकल के जनरेशन जो है वो उसको सिर्फ चपाती नहीं चाहिए, उसमें कुछ मिक्स टाइप का स्टफ्स चाहिए, isn't it? Right. This is an standard. It has nothing to do with right and wrong aspect. This we have to understand. If you can understand this one, you can differentiate values, morality, and ethics.
In the depiction, like it's mentioned, like all values are not moral, but in the depiction you are showing that moral is included in the value or superset of value.
No, this parts, though that is not coming, no, they are not part of the moral aspect. The values, let's say that coming like this. So they are not part of the moral aspect. Right. This we are showing the relationship between them. Already we have told the relationship. Right. So moral values will be means the values which make this morality. So they may not necessarily make ethicality. But some common universal values can be moral also and ethical also. So that we have done. Right. Here we are trying to relate them in the context of this. Right. Although it is not true from the perspective of ethics, because ethics is a normative science also. Right. But we are trying to relate them in the context of values. This. Right. This we can say. So let's write on this. Although values are guide for both, right, although values are guide for both, values are guide for both ethics and morality. Ethics and morality. But all values may not have moral elements, or moral standards. At the same time, like morality, values are more personalized. And individualistic, but ethics is more professional and universal. Hence, all the standards of behavior, which are considered as values, will not conform to standards of ethics. However, there is a close relationship between them. That both are equated. Equated in some context. Like for civil services values, like religious values, like principles of ethics, like moral values, change in paragraph. In such cases, values are equal to ethics or ethical standards. This is what you should know. Means let's say that do not take in literal sense. When we say values, so here we have talked for differences. We have to depict the differences between them. So this way, but you can say civil services values. But civil services values, so when we say civil services values are nothing but civil services ethics. Here values and ethics are replaceable. But when you say moral values, the moral values are nothing but principles of ethics. So that way we can say, so when Nolan committee has given 7 principles of ethics, so where you can say 7 principles of ethics also, 7 principles of values also. Values and ethics can be this way replaceable also. So there you should not think in that the way you think in morality and ethics. Right? That way it should not be taught, and that is how we can say about the difference. Right? So we finish one side of this ethics. The other side is this determinants of ethics. equality is also a value, vegetarian is also a value, means people can think, people can take it as value. This. Now, when we talk about determinants, so determinants are related to first key now normative theories we have told whatever, although we have not taught yet. First, second key we were trying to relate with various things. So they are nothing but they are some, let's say that key theoretical aspect. Theoretical aspect that you have, these are the normative standards. Now in actual practice when we scrutinize human conduct, so what are those factors that we should take into consideration to come to a decision that this conduct is ethical or unethical? Yes, that is how determinants are related. The determinants are nothing but, let's say that those standards which guide when we scrutinize anyone's conduct as ethical or unethical. Like let's say that can we scrutinize any conduct? So this is how it is said, deliberate human conduct. Right. So deliberate human conduct will say that ethics is concerned only about deliberate human conduct. What is deliberate human conduct? This. So before we take, let me give, next time we'll explain it. Just to explain, you may be knowing Talwar murder case, Talwar case, isn't it? Arushi murder case, right? Not Talwar murder case. Arushi murder case. Right. So, why court, let's say that acquitted them from giving any capital punishment, death sentence?
Sir, what's Arushi case?
Arushi case.
That's because they were also the parents, so they are already lost the child. That is why they were not given anything.
Yes.
So what's Arushi case? Can you please recollect?
Basically, Arushi is a girl in a family and parents' name is something titled as Talwar. And she is, I think, a young girl in 10+2 level and she had affair with Hemraj. Or something they were found in some compromising position and Hemraj was working in their house. They were, I think, doctors. The family was doctors. So when parents saw that, so they tried to, whatever they're dealing with that situation, and ultimately the situation happened that they hit with any sharp, let's say, things which resulted into death of Hemraj. I think she also died.
She also did. The main case was her own.
Yes. So she also died, and I think he also.
Both.
Yes, both died. That was the case, let's say, in court. Now the court was, before let's say कि we scrutinize, suppose कि कुछ भी हम नहीं करते, ऐसे ही पूछते हैं कि क्या होना चाहिए. So what you will say? Should parent be punished?
If they have committed the crime, then they should be punished, obviously.
Certainly they have hit, they should be punished.
No, sir, but like recently, the court, I think they actually released him. They released him
Yes.
because of lack of evidence and related. Because the CBI investigation, it was not done in a proper way.
But forget about this, let me just ask, because I will explain these things by this case. Your reply depends also. Reply will tell a bit how to explain it.
If they have done the crime, then they should be punished according to them.
So we want to know that whether they have committed the crime or not. Now let's say that they have committed the crime, then they should be punished. Now committing the crime goes further, whether it was well planned, deliberate. Right. So was it deliberate? Was it not deliberate? Yes. So if it was deliberate, then there would be severe punishment. And if it was not deliberate, there will not be severe punishment. So court found that murder was not deliberate. Murder was not intentional. Basically, they wanted to hit him. When he hit that person, so the intention was not to kill. The intention was just to hit him, let's say, cause harm to that person, physical harm, whatever, to cause harm to that person. But the way they hit that, let's say that, with some sharp edge, something, it resulted into death. The death was consequential, not deliberate. That was the main aspect to acquit them. This. So, court even takes into consideration deliberate human action. हम लोग ये सब नहीं सोचते हैं, इसलिए आपको थोड़ा सा समझने में टाइम लगेगा. We are the people who easily form opinion, isn't it? कुछ सोचते नहीं है, कभी पूछते हैं कि क्या उन्होंने deliberately, क्या जानबूझ के बोला है, right? In which situation he has told, isn't it? आजकल तो वैसे भी व्हाट्सएप और स्टेटस देख के लोग अपसेट हो जाते हैं. right? आजकल लोगों के घरों में देर से व्हाट्सएप के स्टेटस पे ही चर्चा होता है. देखो उसने ये स्टेटस डाला है, राइट? तो वो मेरे लिए डाला होगा. मतलब आपसे कुछ हुआ, isn't it? कुछ आर्गुमेंट्स हुआ होगा, फिर स्टेटस, right? And through status change.
Settings you can change like only for easily.
Right. So this is what you will find. Right. So whether it is deliberately done, right. So it is important to know human action, nature of human action. So far we were trying to tell not nature of human action, rather standard of human action. Right. So when we say law, morality, social norms, etc., so we are just talking general standards. We have not dealt with any specific human action. But when the day you decide any ethical conduct as ethical or unethical, so you deal with specific human conduct. Specific human conduct, and that should be analyzed whether it is deliberate. Right. Then purpose क्या है? The purpose was to hit and harm rather than to kill. Right. This. But if it is cold-blooded, this is how that sentence होता है, cold-blooded, diabolical, which judges can understand better. Right. So cold-blooded. Right. So that is how it amounts that sentence. The purpose is seen, intention, let's say that. Then nature of the object. Object here is related to classification of all our human actions. Whatever the object you have in this world, it is classified. Right. Right. Like say कि men are harsh, women are soft. Classification of society, isn't it? Whether you accept or not. But that's different thing. But it is said that कि men are right, harsh, women soft, that kind of thing we have. So this way we can say that. Then
What is object?
object means all living and non-living beings. Here object has a different meaning. Object, I am also object, you are also object. Pen is also object, copy is also object. Right. All living and non-living beings, and the term, language, word, everything is an object. Like a particular word, let's say, it has a positive connotation, and it has a negative connotation. Right. So similarly, positive, negative connotation, right. Positive connotation. They are also object. Right. So we'll explain next time when we'll deal in details. So that will also be taken into consideration. Like someone told that day, you were saying that a bit confusion between ethics and morality, like stealing. Right, act of stealing, let's say. And Haynes' dilemma, someone told about Haynes' dilemma, so we'll answer while talking like this. The circumstances. Like even Savita case if you take, circumstances. In normal case, abortion is not allowed. But in abnormal situation, it should be allowed. The circumstances also play their role in or human action. COVID time, you know that also. And the consequence of, what is the consequence? Right. Many a time your intention is right, but consequence is wrong. Right. There is a mismatch between purpose and consequence. So that also will be taken into. Like say they were saving Savita's life. Right. They are trying to save Savita's life, and abortion is, let's say that you need, but she dies. Then right. फिर तो डॉक्टर के ऊपर डबल केस होगा. Because this so consequent, this is how it is. The human action is scrutinized. So let's take next time. By the time you read that, what we can say, the booklet that we have given.
Which one's the values in administration?
Right, values in administration, that also you can read.
What's the booklet?
The PDF file.
Like the hard copy?
A hard copy also you can read, the hard one, that 2 booklets given. Right.
So the PDF I think is regarding model answers, regarding question answer and case study.
No.
And then through current developments there is.
Yes, I think on portals they will be available 3-4 files, 3-4 different types of, let's say, files. One is question and answer. The question and answer you should not read because it is not, if you can feel comfortable you can read it, but still it is not the time to read question answer. Rather you read the DOPT PDF file, 75 pages, to know about ethical aspect, plus the 2 booklets, the printed that we have given. The first one you read as a reference to know about some ethical aspect. That should be that, right? Yes, okay.
Thank you.